Video starts now! Hi guys, it's Nick from Kicking Goals, and welcome to this week's show. Well, it's been a bruising weekend of football. Geelong got pumped at their home ground. Port Adelaide lost at home to the Swans. St Kilda kept the Pies on their toes for much of the game. Carlton got robbed in a certain win by North Melbourne, who cheated. The umpires were paid off, and never before I have seen such obvious match fixing. It's just not cricket. So last week's tips, I've got 4 out of 7, and in total tips, I'm on 100. On to next week's footy tips. The first game of the week is between Port Adelaide and Carlton. Both teams had horrible losses, but I reckon Port Adelaide will bounce back strongly, and I reckon they'll win by 10 points. So the second match of the week is between Sydney and the Western Bulldogs. Both teams had great wins on the weekend, especially Sydney beating Port Adelaide in Adelaide. They will go into this week's game full of confidence. So I reckon Sydney will cause an upset, and I reckon they'll win by a point in a nail biter. So the next match of the week is between Gold Coast and Melbourne. The Suns only just lost to GWS and really should have won after leading for most of it. Before their bye, Melbourne lost by a point to Collingwood on King's birthday, which they also should have won. So I'm going to tip the Suns to win by 26 points since it's in the Gold Coast and they're good at home. So now we've got Hawthorn taking on North Melbourne. Before the bye, Hawthorn had only just beaten the Crows in a low-scoring contest in Tasmania. North Melbourne had a great win against Carlton, and they were lucky to hold on at the end. Although Hawthorn are the hot favourites, and it could go either way. So I'm going to tip Hawthorn to win by 57 points. I just reckon Hawthorn will be a bit too strong in the end. So now we've got Collingwood taking on the West Coast Eagles. Collingwood had a convincing win over St Kilda. They are showing once again that they are the team to beat. Before their bye, West Coast lost to Carlton, but they didn't lose by much at all. They hung in for most of the game. So I'm going to tip Collingwood to win by 85 points since they're the real deal at the moment. Richmond versus Adelaide. Richmond got smashed by the Dogs, who are trying to make the top 4. Before their bye, Adelaide only just lost to Hawthorn on a cold night in a shit game, which they should have fucking won. Anyway, but I reckon the Crows should win comfortably here, and I'm going to tip them to win by 67 points. Fremantle versus St Kilda. Fremantle had a comfortable win over Essendon in Perth. St Kilda had a loss against Collingwood, but they did show some promising signs for most of the game, and they didn't get smashed in the end. But since it's in Perth, I'm going to tip Fremantle to win by 25 points because they're in much better form than St Kilda. How embarrassing. Carlton got pumped by North Melbourne by 11 points. Our kicking was just horrible. Our commitment was lower than a waterlogged shark shit. Skill levels were substandard, mistakes were many, and turnovers were common. Although we came back in the final quarter, North had us on the ropes and most of the game. We simply were not good enough. Let's talk about Gunslinger. He was one of the few Carlton players who put in a good effort with 4 goals and some fancy marking. Gunslinger showed his teammates what needed to be done. It's pity more players didn't follow his lead. The move back to the forward line surprisingly seems to be working. Hewitt, although he started off slowly, his second half was the Hewitt we know so well, with 31 disposals. He topped the possession list for Carlton. Hewitt was one of Carlton's best players and such an impact part of the team. His consistent hard work at ground level makes him one of our standout players. Like Gunslinger, he was only one of the few Carlton players who can hold their head up high last Saturday. Now Motlop, named as the sub when he did finally come on the ground, he was once again disappointing. The Carlton selectors really need to have a good think about Motlop's role at the Blues. Apart from a good game against Essendon in round 13, Motlop's performance has been pretty poor, and Saturday was no exception. Apart from some woeful kicking, we turned over the ball way too often. Simple mistakes plagued Carlton, including some players you would expect more from. Silvani, Akers and Cripps were fumbling under pressure and were very ordinary considering they are key players for Carlton. Hollands, Yardy, Fogarty and Carroll were less than perfect. Lack of speed, poor ball disposal and always passing to teammates who were about to be tackled lost the game for Carlton. Fantasia, Williams and a few others were acceptable but not enough to win finals. We need to do better. Carlton's finals ambitions have taken a hit this week. It will be almost impossible to make the finals considering they will face off with the likes of Collingwood, Brisbane and Hawthorn. I think Carlton's season is cactus. I hope I'm wrong. Leading disposal getters were George Hewitt with 31.
It's with 29.
Adam Cherry with 25. And our leading goal kickers were Gunslinger with 4, Fantasia with 2, and singles to Blake Acres. Yardy, Fogarty, it's 16. Motlop and Williams. And the votes for the kicking goals medal, Adam Cherry will get 1, George Hewitt will get 2, and the 3 votes will go to Yardy, Fogarty, it's 16. So the leader of the kicking goals medal is George Hewitt with a total of 26. Second place is Cripper with 15. And third place is Adam Cherry with 12. So thank you all for watching this video, everyone. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all later on. Catch you later.